The storm arrived earlier than forecast. By morning, the horizon was gone. Snow and sky were one continuous white canvas, horizon erased like a memory. The base moved slower, every step, every breath, a negotiation with the cold. Sergeant Cade stood outside the communications tower, goggles crusted with frost. He watched his squad march into formation, except they weren't a squad today. They were shadows drifting through fog. "Whiteout drills!" Cade shouted over the wind. "Navigation only by sound and instinct. No GPS, no optics, no excuses." The men groaned. Leon, standing at the rear, adjusted the strap of his rifle, his pale fingers ghost-like against black steel. His face was calm, unreadable, as if the cold couldn't reach him. But the eyes, those icy, unblinking eyes, caught everything. "Halden!" Cade barked. "You lead. Let's see if your eyes that listen can find a way through this." The squad murmured. One voice whispered behind a scarf. "We're trusting the snow ghosts now?" Another chuckled. "At least we'll blend in when we freeze." Leon said nothing. He took a compass, turned it once, twice, then closed it again without looking. "The wind changed direction at dawn," he said. "If we follow the sound of the windbreaker line, we'll cross the ridge safely. North slope echoes lower." "How do you know that?" one asked. Leon didn't turn. "Because it's talking." They laughed. But when they started walking, 10 minutes later, the line he chose cut perfectly between two snow ridges, the only path that hadn't been swallowed by drifts. An hour into the march, the snow thickened to blindness. White flakes blurred the air into static. The wind no longer blew, it screamed, 1,000 ghostly whispers funneling through the valley. "Can't see the markers! Keep formation! Where the hell's the ridge line?" Leon stopped. "Silence!" he shouted, voice sharp, controlled. The squad froze, confused. Even Cade hesitated. Leon knelt, pulled off one glove, and pressed his hand flat against the snow. He closed his eyes. The others exchanged glances, smirks hidden under balaclavas. "Is he praying?" one muttered. Then Leon spoke, calm and clear. "There's a hollow beneath us. Don't step forward." Before Cade could ask, a dull thud answered for him. The man nearest to Leon shifted his weight. The snow caved, revealing a drop, a 3-meter trench of ice, invisible from above. The laughter died. Cade's jaw tightened. He said nothing, just gave a short nod. "Keep moving." His call. They moved slower after that. Nobody joked. When they finally reached the ridge, visibility had dropped to 10 meters. They huddled behind an ice ledge, steam rising from their breaths. Leon pulled his parka tighter, snow gathering in his hair like salt. Cade crouched beside him. "That trench," he said. "You heard it?" Leon nodded. The echo changed. Wind stopped bouncing back. The snow swallowed the sound. Cade studied him for a long moment. "You've done this before." Leon's silence was answer enough. Behind them, 2 soldiers whispered again, too loud this time. "You think he's one of them?" "One of who?" "The Silver Eyes. My uncle told me stories. Special ops snipers, moved in blizzards like ghosts. Used sound instead of light. Fairy tales, man. That unit was disbanded before we were born." "Yeah, but their mark." He nodded toward Leon's sleeve. "An owl with no eyes. They said they could see without them." Cade turned his head just enough. "You want to gossip," he said flatly. "Do it when the snow stops burying your tongue." The men fell silent. But the rumor had already taken shape. And like everything whispered in the wind, it spread faster than orders. By evening, the whiteout had calmed into steady snowfall. The squad set up camp halfway down the ridge. The tents glowed faintly orange against the monochrome landscape, like lanterns under ice. Inside, they huddled around a small heater, helmets off, hands thawing over tin cups of coffee. Leon sat slightly apart, polishing his rifle with measured precision. Each movement mirrored a ritual. A private named Hensley finally broke the silence. "All right, Ghost Boy," he said with a grin too wide for warmth. You've been quiet all day. That tattoo, what's it mean? Leon didn't look up. It means nothing. Nothing? Hensley pressed. You sure? Because it looks like something. 2 rings and now cross lines, just like the stories. Silver eyes, right? Snipers who could see through fog. The others chuckled, half uneasy, half curious. Leon's tone didn't change. Stories are for people who need them. Oh, come on, lighten up, Hensley said, leaning closer. You shoot one lucky bullet, now you're some mythic sniper? The sound of metal clicked. Leon had reassembled the rifle, and set the bolt forward with a soft, deliberate clack. He looked up then, eyes pale and cold as the snow outside. Luck doesn't hit center mass at 1600, he said quietly. And legends don't brag. The tent went still. Even Cade, watching from the corner, didn't intervene. After a long silence, Leon rose, slung the rifle, and stepped out into the snow. The wind greeted him like an old friend. Behind him, the soldiers stared at the tent flap where he'd disappeared. Hensley exhaled. Creepy bastard. Cade finally spoke. No. Just trained differently. He looked toward the flap again, voice lower. And if that mark means what I think it means, we're lucky he's on our side. Outside, Leon knelt again, glove off, hand buried in powder. He felt the rhythm beneath the cold, the earth still humming under the frozen skin. He opened his eyes. In the pale moonlight, the snow reflected his own face back at him, white on white, a ghost surrounded by ghosts. Then he saw it. A pattern of footprints not belonging to his unit. Too wide apart. Too heavy for patrol boots. Someone had been here before them. He turned his head toward the darkness beyond the ridge. There, a faint metallic glint. A reflection gone as fast as it appeared. A sniper scope. Leon exhaled slowly, fog leaving his lips like a secret. He slid down into the snow, one with the landscape. The cold didn't bite him. It accepted him. He whispered to himself. Whiteout hides both sides. The one who listens first lives. Behind him, the campfire flickered against the tent's thin walls. Inside, the men laughed again, quieter this time. None of them saw the shadow crawling closer through the snow. But Leon did. And in his hollow blue eyes something shifted, not fear, not surprise, but recognition. The past was no longer a rumor. It was here. The snow had stopped by dawn, but silence stayed. When Leon returned to the camp, the others were asleep, or pretending to be. The fire had burned low, its last embers glowing like tired eyes beneath ash. He sat down outside his tent, removed his gloves, and turned his wrist toward the pale light. The tattoo caught the dawn, faint, silver against white skin. An owl, wings folded, eyes hollow. Beneath it, a half-erased inscription, SC-01. He traced it with his fingertip. The skin there was rough, uneven, like scar tissue, not ink. That's what it was. Burned in, not drawn. A soft crunch came from behind him. Sergeant Cade. You don't sleep much, Cade said, sitting beside him. Leon didn't look up. Sleep makes you forget sounds. Sounds? Leon nodded slightly. Snow shifts before it breaks. Ice hums before it cracks. And people change tone before they lie. Cade studied him, half amused, half unsettled. You always talk like that? Only when people ask. Cade chuckled, rubbing his hands. Then his gaze dropped to Leon's wrist. The mark, he said quietly. I've seen it once before. Leon didn't answer, but his jaw tightened. Cade continued, voice lower now. In Kandahar, 12 years ago. After a rescue op went south, an extraction team found footprints, one man, moving through dust like he wasn't human. They said he carried a wounded captain 10 miles without water. Only thing left on the site was a bullet shell, and that same owl carved into the casing. Leon finally looked at him, calm, steady, and old beyond his years. Maybe it was another ghost, he said. Cade held his gaze. Maybe. But ghosts don't salute. Silence. The wind shifted again, soft as breath. Then, from inside Leon's tent, a small metal object fell from his pack, a spent casing, polished, engraved faintly with the same symbol. It rolled once, twice, and stopped near Cade's boot. Cade bent, picked it up. His thumb brushed the owl. He looked at Leon, but Leon had already turned back to the horizon. Over the ridge, sunlight cracked through a thin veil of cloud, not golden, but silver. The wind whispered through the canvas tents, carrying the faintest sound. A single metallic click. Someone chambering around far in the distance. Cade's voice came soft, almost a warning. They found us. Leon didn't move. I know, he said. He stood, eyes narrowing toward the ridge, pale irises catching the first flare of sunlight. In that reflection, the mark on his wrist gleamed, not as a wound, not as a memory, but as a signal. He whispered, "Then it begins again." And somewhere beyond the ridge, another unseen figure whispered the same words, in perfect sync.